Chapter 156, Haggling Over the Price. Tang Xiu snappily said, the amount Bill Gates own isn't so few you know. Well, let's stop talking about this. Anyway, I'm giving the men and the formula for the healthcare products to you now, since I want to focus on dealing with the college entrance test first. So, you take care of matters and don't disturb me. Kang Xia gave out a lovable and charming expression as though she didn't know what to do with Tang Xiu, as she said with a snort, "Humph. I have never seen a boss like you before. You just directly and brazenly pass the job to others but do nothing yourself. But still, don't you feel at least happy that such an outstanding and beautiful mature woman like me is doing things for you?" Tang Xiu touched the bridge of his nose as he said with a pale smile, I just recalled that someone has said that a woman's heart is even more poisonous than a hornet's tail needles. Just like flowers, the more beautiful and tender they are, the more lethal their poison is. Besides, don't you think that I'm way too young to be attracted by such poison? Kang Xia couldn't help laughing, even bursting into laughter. Previously, she didn't know that Tang Xiu would be this eloquent. The more contact she had with him, the more she found Tang Xiu's mysteriousness. It piqued her interest. Her eyes turned as she suddenly leaned on him. As her sensual lips were getting closer to Tang Xiu's ear, her warm breath blew in his ear as she whispered. Boss, you're really mysterious. You're simply unlike a high schooler. Can you tell me from where you learned your powerful martial arts? Also, those security guards you've brought, from what background are they anyway? Tang Xiu pushed Kang Xia away and said snappily, don't try to seduce me. I'm young and my self-control is quite weak. If you dare to overstep for half a step more through the minefield, then I won't be able to restrain myself and force you do something we don't want to. About my martial arts and their origins, now it's not the time to tell you yet. Perhaps later on you'll know. Kang Xia gave a supercilious look as she turned to look outside the window with a bitter expression. Her heart itched the more Tang Xiu shut it out from her, causing her to want to figure out about his everything. Moreover, she also realized that she got quite the sickness, and it wasn't just an ordinary one, for she was always thinking about Tang Xiu from time to time, thinking about how and what he was doing, wondering for when he would contact her, thinking about his mysteriousness. All of those drove her to want to unveil those layers of mysteries of his. How come my mind strayed and my imagination run wild? Kang Xia patted her forehead as she turned toward Tang Xiu, giving him another lovable and charming supercilious look again. Shortly after, Kang Xia arranged to have the 20 security guards settled. She also gave the captain Zhong Tiekue a sum of money for their wages in advance. Then, after taking out her sports car, she drove Tang Xiu to Southgate Town. Whilst sitting on the driver's seat, she looked at Tang Xiu's back when he entered the Southgate Town's front gate. Her eyes couldn't help but roll again as she clearly remembered that Tang Xiu had never raised the topic of asking her to visit his home. What an insensitive person. He's unamenable to others' feeling. Isn't this the characteristic of someone on their way to spending the rest of their life in loneliness? Kang Xia couldn't help but secretly criticize him in her heart. After he returned home, Tang Xiu found that Yuan Chuling, Chang Yannan and the other two were still waiting for him. He made up some lies to them, and then began to give the tutoring for their schoolwork. In the blink of an eye, time marched on as though a galloping white horse. Days passed on as Tang Xiu spent his days in boredom. And quickly, the college entrance test was only 3 days away. What made Tang Xiu happy was that his mother got discharged from the hospital and that her restaurant that also successfully expanded. Not only was it bigger by several fold, but it also had been decorated more luxuriously. His mother also decided that the restaurant would resume the business the second day after his college entrance test ended. In the recent days, he devoted himself on tutoring Yuan Chuling, Chang Yannan and the other two in their study, causing the four's study to progress by leaps and bounds. Tang Xiu believed that their results would be greatly improved even if they had to do the test now, But he didn't know as to what extent their improvement would be. He also got news from Chen Zhizheng and Long Zhengyu. One of them was that they joined hands to create the circumstances to aim at Su Shangguan and put him out of business. They believed that it wouldn't take long for his Shangguan real estate to go bankrupt as well as pushing him into jail. As for Long Zhengyu, Chu Yi, Bai Tao and Ouyang Lulu, for whom he had the partnerships to develop the building, the early stage for the plan had been properly prepared. Tang Xiu also had carefully drawn the overall blueprint of the architectural design and gave it to them. As for how they would manage the execution of the plan and how to build it later, it was up to them. At Star City First High School, Tang Xiu was quietly practicing inside the class 10. Along with the passing of time, his cultivation level was rapidly progressing. His star force was also stronger by several points due to absorbing the power of the stars every day. He was confident that it wouldn't take too long for him to achieve the skin-strengthening late stage if he could maintain this pace. At that time, he would be able to break through to the next stage. Tang Xiu. Teacher Han is looking for you. Chang Yannan, who had just entered the classroom, directly called him from behind the moment she saw him. Huh? What does she want from me now? Tang Xiu looked up and asked with a confused expression. Should be related to us, I think. You two know that she made us come to school 2 hours earlier today. She gave us 2 exam papers after we arrived, one for math and the other foreign language. But she didn't tell us about the results after we finished the test though. Instead, she told me to pass the message for you to go to her office, said Chang Yannan. Tang Xiu stood slowly, patting the sleepy Yuan Chuling and asked, Hey, you did those tests too, how was it? Yuan Chuling pursed his lips and groaned as he said, Damn good I say. The tests were much easier compared to the previous ones I've had. Anyways, why don't you hurry and go? Teacher Han is calling for you. And don't disturb my dream, will you? Tang Xiu was speechless. After leaving the classroom, he directly headed to the office, and he could see that there was only Han Qingwu inside. He then greeted with a smile, Teacher Han, is there something you need from me? Han Qingwu's mood was obviously quite bright today as she waved to Tang Xiu and said with a smile, Tang Xiu, you really didn't reveal your true nature, eh? Previously I thought that Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan, at the very least, would only get a small improvement in their study even though you are giving them supplementary lessons and tutoring them. So, I asked those 4 to do a test for 2 subjects this morning. Can you guess what results they got? Definitely good, I'm sure of it. Otherwise, you would be giving me long and angry looks, criticizing my tutoring. Tang Xiu answered. Han Qingwu snapped with a smile, what smelly boy. I've been that unreasonable, haven't I? Anyway, just like you guessed, the results of the 4 are really progressing by leaps and bounds. Also, there are some questions in the math test that are on an Olympic level and are extremely difficult. But those 4 correctly answered the problems. Those who trust me will gain eternal life. Suddenly, Tang Xiu recalled the time when he was in the immortal world. There was a demonic sect with such a slogan, for which they used to attract the cultivation talents. Whilst revealing a smile that didn't look like a smile, he looked at Han Qingwu and immediately said, Teacher Han, won't you give me some kind of reward for helping those 4 improving their results? Han Qingwu laughed involuntarily and said, What reward do you want? Give me a day off. I need to get out and get some fresh air to vent out things. Tang Xiu said. Han Qingwu was stunned. From Tang Xiu's high tone, how come she felt that schooling was just like a prison for him? I won't have you give a holiday since all the third-year students will all be having a holiday tomorrow. They'll have 2 days of rest before the college entrance test. So, you must stay honestly at school for all day today. Really? It was quite a pleasant surprise for Tang Xiu. Did you see that I was joking with you? Han Qingwu scolded him in reply. Nope, Tang Xiu shook his head. Then, Han Qingwu waved and said, "Well, the reason why I called you up is that I want to praise you for your efforts. And since we've passed that part, quickly go back to your classroom and review your schoolwork. If these 4 classmates of yours have good results in the college entrance test and make me happy, I'll treat you to some Western food in summer vacation. It's a deal." Tang Xiu quickly answered, and then left the office. Ring, ring, ring. Just when Tang Xiu was about to enter the class 10's door, the mobile in his pocket ringed. Looking around and ensuring that nobody was around, he walked away. Accepting the call, he said, "Long Jinglin, what's up?" "Eldest brother, I'm in the Star City Medicinal Herbs Market and I found an excellent medicinal ingredient here. Wanna take a look at it yourself?" Long Jinglin's excited voice came out from the phone. "What herb?" Tang Xiu asked with some doubt. The shop owner said that the herb is extremely rare and it was picked from the snow-capped mountain in the western region. It's fully matured, and he put it inside a warm jade box. Long Jinglin replied. "You mean, it's a Tianshan snow lotus?" Tang Xiu asked with astonishment. Long Jinglin laughed as he replied, "That's it. It's Tianshan snow lotus. Moreover, it's 1,000-years-old one. I wanted to buy it for you, but it's extremely pricey. The owner won't even hand it over if I don't give him 9 digits of money. So, are you gonna look at it or not? If you don't, I won't be able to prevent him from selling it to others. Wait for me, I'll rush over there." Tang Xiu said without hesitation. "Sure." Long Jinglin complied and then hung up the phone. Tang Xiu thought for a moment. He didn't go to Han Qingwu to request leave as he sneaked out of the school's wall and left the school. He directly stopped a taxi and rushed toward the Star City Medicinal Herbs Market. A little more than half an hour later, he finally arrived at the herb market from his school. After rushing and arriving at the shop, Long Jinglin told him, a lot of people had already gathered around it. However, since this big fellow, Long Jinglin, went all out to guard this Tianshan snow lotus, the shop owner was unable to sell it, even if he wanted to. It's really that herb. Tang Xiu was quite surprised secretly. In the eyes of ordinary people, the value of this Tianshan snow lotus might only be a 9 digits worth of money. But in his hands, its value would be hundreds of times that. He didn't need the Tianshan snow lotus for his cultivation. But Gu Yin very much needed this medicinal ingredient. If he could buy this herb and refine it, he definitely would be able to make Gu Yin break through to a very high cultivation realm within a short time. "Boss, how much is it?" After pushing the crowd and entering the frontmost, Tang Xiu directly asked. 100 million. Less than that by even a dime, not selling. Chapter 157, An Unexpected, Pleasant Surprise. The shop's owner was guarded by the 4 staffers as he stood out of the counter. His reply to Tang Xiu was as though he had answered the same question for many times, carrying along with it his resolution and decisiveness. Tang Xiu thought for a moment as he nodded and said, "I'll take it. Give me your bank account and I'll transfer the money in the next few minutes." The shop owner looked at him with a disdaining expression when he spoke, "Little brother, you don't need to casually boast. The price is 100 million, and not 1,000. Whether I'm able to afford the price or not, it's my problem. You only need to tell me your bank account. If within the next few minutes the money has been transferred to your account, then our deal is concluded. The money is yours and you give me this Tianshan snow lotus. If the money isn't there, that means that I have no money to pay you. Besides, you got nothing to lose either way," said Tang Xiu. The shop owner thought for a moment, and he too felt that Tang Xiu's argument was reasonable. He immediately ordered one of his staffs to tell his bank card number to Tang Xiu. Squeezing out of the crowd, Tang Xiu then dialed Gu Xiaoshue's cell number. "You're looking for me, Grand Master?" The surprised and pleasant voice of Gui Xiaoxue came out of the phone. Yes, I need 100 million yuan right now. Do you have some money there? Asked Tang Xiu. Gu Xiaoxue replied with a laugh, I do. If 100 million is insufficient, I'll transfer 1 billion to you. 1 billion? Tang Xiu couldn't help but roll his eyes. He just realized that he was really poor. Even his grand disciples could casually provide 1 billion, while 100 million already gave him quite a headache. However, he had no choice but ask Gu Xiaoxue's help as his last resort. The Tianshan Snow Lotus was, after all, very important. If he could get it, not only would it make Gu Yin's cultivation level increase greatly, it would also greatly benefit Gu Yan, who was still unconscious. No need. I only need 100 million. I'll text you the bank account and you must transfer the money within the next several minutes to this account. Tang Xiu said. Understood. Gu Xiaoxue replied. A few minutes later, the shop owner looked at Long Zhenglin with a desperate look, saying, Little brother, your friend hasn't come back. He simply cannot afford to provide 100 million, right? Please don't make things more difficult for me. I also need to sell this Tianshan Snow Lotus. Take a look at those people. They also have been waiting. He knew who Long Zhenglin was, as well as was acutely aware of his identity. Otherwise, he could have kicked him out a long time ago. Old. Boss, the money has just been transferred. I just counted the amount. It's exactly 100 million. The shop staff who had been staring at the phone screen received a notification from a text message that the money had been transferred, as he immediately called out with an excited expression. The shop owner stared blankly for a moment before a look of disbelief was cast on his face as he exclaimed, That little brother. How many minutes has it been? He really has transferred 100 million? Take a look and verify it again, is the amount correct? The shop staff read it again. After verifying it, he said, Yes, boss, it's correct. It's exactly 100 million. Take a look at it. At this moment, Tang Xiu squeezed back into the crowd and came over again. Then, he looked at the shop owner and asked, Well, has the money been transferred? The shop owner nodded and replied, Yes. So, this Tianshan Snow Lotus should be mine, yes? If you have no more things to say, can I take it now? Tang Xiu said. The shop owner's lower lip wiggled before he replied with a nod, Yes, it's yours. Tang Xiu revealed a faint smile as he glanced at Long Zhenglin, who was also quite surprised, with a grateful expression. He received the jade box and after covering the lid, he and Long Zhenglin squeezed out of the crowd and left the medicinal herbs market as fast as possible. In the cab, on the way back to Star City First High School, Long Zhenglin looked at Tang Xiu and said with a beaming smile, Eldest brother, I did something good this time, didn't I? I know that you've been looking for precious medicinal ingredients everywhere. Therefore, I have been strolling around the medicinal herbs market regularly. I didn't expect that I would come across such a precious load today though. So, how would you reward me? Tang Xiu said while laughing, How about I give you my kiss? You want it? Hell, fuck. Long Zhenglin showed his middle finger. Tang Xiu looked at the jade box in his hand. After being silent for a long while, he then slowly said, Give me some time for your reward. I assure you that you'll get some big surprise from me. What surprise? What is it? Long Zhenglin replied with a surprised expression. It's a secret for now, though. Well, let's change the topic. You know I still need to go back to school, so, are you gonna follow me or what? Tang Xiu said. Shrugging his shoulders, Long Zhenglin let out a smile and said, It's fine with me. Besides, I have always been strolling around without plans recently, and I got nothing to do anyway. Huh? Do you still want to continue like this? Man, you're not a kid anymore, you know. I think you gotta have something to do. Even if the goal is only a small one, but at the very least, you gotta have some ability to support your own ass. I know that the long group will be taken care of by your big brother, so you don't need to worry about your future. But with such a fortunate starting circumstance, why don't you start pursuing your own dream? Tang Xiu asked. Long Jinglin opened up his arms and said, my dream is only to sleep and wake up naturally, and then counting the money I succeeded in obtaining until my hands cramped. I got the first one, so it's the second dream I'm hoping to achieve now. Tang Xiu said with an indifferent tone, since you haven't achieved your second dream, then fight. Struggle for your own success. Besides, I think you should leave Star City to roam the outside world and strive hard to work your way out there. You two know the saying that a tiger father won't beget a dog's son, right? Your father is a great man. He has been working hard to support your family, and he has been successful to make such a family fortune. And I think that his sons are not a waste either. Going to the outside world and working hard? With an astonished expression, Long Jinglin looked at Tang Xiu and said, why should I go to the outside world and work hard there if I want to make money? I have the support of my Long family here. Either a social network and business channels, I can have those easily. Making money here will be much easier than an outside world, right? Forever being sheltered under the eagle's wings, the fledgling eaglet will never be able to soar and fly in the sky. Let me give you an analogy. Just imagine, what if one day your dad and your big brother weren't there for you? To whose shoulders would you cling yourself onto then? I'll make this short for you. The ones who are relying on their parents, the heavens and the places, they never had and never will be real strong and courageous men. There will come a time in one's life that a boy will have to leave and live his own life. Don't tell me that you don't want to be a real man, a genuine real man just like your father and grandfather used to be? Tang Xiu gave his speech. As shaken as he was, Long Jinglin was blown up by Tang Xiu's words. Never had he thought about this issue before, and no one questioned him before. Thus, Tang Xiu's words were as though heavy blows to his head, causing him to suddenly wake up. For a long time, Long Jinglin was silent. Eventually, after the taxi was about to arrive at Star City First High School, only then he slowly asked, eldest brother, tell me, what should I do now? Ask your heart as to what you want to do. Money isn't a problem for you now. So, not only can you pursue anything you like, but you also can use it to make money. Star City, for me, is only a small place and a starting point. I'll definitely get out of this place to go to the outside world and develop myself in much bigger stages. Therefore, I also don't want my friend to have a mediocre future. Tang Xiu said indifferently. With a sinking tone, Long Jinglin said, I got your point and thoughts, eldest brother. Don't worry, gimme some time to clear up my head and you'll be the first one I'll tell you about my plan. After that, he asked the taxi driver to stop and directly left alone. Looking at Long Jinglin's shoulders, Tang Xiu was secretly sighing inside. It was not in his intention to stimulate Long Jinglin in the first place. But looking at him being idle and doing nothing all day, was not something he could stand to see. Because, with such behavior, what's the difference between him and those second-generation nouveau riche, famous playboys and young masters? Quickly, Tang Xiu crossed the top of the school's wall to slip in and return back to his school. What made him quite relieved was that Han Qinggu didn't return to the class. His classmates also thought that he was away because Han Qinggu called him and had yet to come back. This one day had finally been endured. And after Han Qinggu announced that they would have a holiday for the second and third day, the class suddenly turned noisy and boiled up. Eldest brother, can we stay in your house in the next 2 days? Yuan Chuling revealed a sucking up expression with a mischievous laugh. Staying at my house? What for? Don't you have to go back to your own home? Tang Xiu confused. Chang Yannan turned around and said with a beaming smile, "Well, we plan to spend these last 2 days fully studying the rest of the subjects we have yet to understand. So, we'll completely rely on you to teach us. Teacher Tang, you wouldn't be thinking of ditching us in the last critical moment, would you?" "What?" Tang Xiu was stunned. In fact, he was also planning to spend these 2 days to take a good rest, and also accompany his mother in the restaurant. But upon hearing Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan's words, he immediately felt as though his head would explode. It was as if they were pasted on him just like the dogskin plasters. After hesitating for a moment, Tang Xiu said, "How about this? You don't need to stay, but you can come to my house every morning. I'll continue giving you the tutoring and you are free in the afternoon. Besides, I want to rest well at nights too, you know." "Deal." Yuan Chuling joyfully replied with a laugh. A cunning glint appeared in Cheng Yannan's eyes as she said, "Tang Xiu, one more thing. We too are planning to show our thanks to you for tutoring us all these times. I, Yuan Chuling, Xiao Wanfan, and Li Xiaoqian have talked about it, and we want to treat you to a dinner and a karaoke tonight. And you are not allowed to refuse." Dinner and karaoke? Having a dinner wasn't a problem for him, but he was curious about singing. He too had been to a KTV before, albeit only once. And the last time he was in the KTV was helping Ouyang Lulu to solve some troubles. Thus, he was also curious, how good a singer was he? "Fine. I'll consider it as a relaxation before having the college entrance test." The smile on Cheng Yannan's face got thicker as she replied with a beaming smile, "Thanks a bunch for your presence, Teacher Tang. We'll look forward to it. Farewell then. See you later." Tang Xiu nodded. The five had dinner in a fairly good restaurant. And after a great thanks dinner, they took a taxi and went to an upscale KTV. Nowadays was the time of feasting, pleasure-seeking, and indulging life in luxury. Thus, it made the KTV's business very hot as countless of blue and white collars turned crazy as the nightlife began. All day long they had been working, they needed to vent at night. And choosing to have a karaoke at KTV was quite good a choice. The 5 people arrived at one box with the guidance of the attendant. The box could be said to be quite luxurious as the 4 people pushed Tang Xiu to sing on the stage. "No, no. I really can't sing. I usually don't listen to any songs and neither do I know how to sing. How about I request a song from you all and I'll be drinking and listening to you singing?" said Tang Xiu with a forced smile. Xiao Wanfan, the shy one, looked at Tang Xiu with a disbelieving expression. "You really can't sing and seldom listen to any songs?" "Yes," Tang Xiu said. Chapter 158, Singing. Xiao Wanfan's mouth slightly tilted as she said, "Since you can't sing the pop songs, then how about singing our national anthem? Don't tell me you can't even sing it." Tang Xiu's face was heavy and full of black lines. With a laugh, Yuan Chuling followed, "Eldest brother, you're very smart, and your ability to learn is great. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't hear pop songs though. Let's do this then. We'll sing a few songs, and you listen and focus on our singing. By your intelligence and ability, you may be able to sing after listening to us for a few times. You see me too highly, don't you? If I were really that good, I could have been a big star, you know." Revealing a forced smile, Tang Xiu replied. "Come on. Try it." Chen Yannan added to the fire. Such a warmth was really difficult to refuse. Finally, Tang Xiu nodded and complied. Following that, Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan each chose a song, and their singing was quite good. Xiao Wanfan and Li Xiaoqian also tossed aside their usual shyness as they requested songs and also sang. They even touched the bottle and drank their beers with everyone. "So, what do you think? Is there any song you want to try?" After singing with Li Xiaoqian, Chang Yannan asked Tang Xiu with a smiling face. With a forced smile, Tang Xiu said, None. I haven't listened to even one song. It doesn't matter, though. But if you don't sing, that means you don't give us face since we invited you here to have a karaoke. So, we won't speak anything about the songs you choose. Chang Yannan said. Any song will do, right? Tang Xiu said. Yup. Chang Yannan replied with a nod. Tang Xiu stood as he took the microphone on the table and said, Okay, since you said that anything will do, then I'll sing the song I've learned before. The tone of the song I'm about to sing is quite strange, so I hope you can bear with it. But, I would be able to sing better if you can provide me a zither. A zither? The four of them looked at each other with a strange expression. Eldest brother, what kind of jokes are you playing? You know that we're in KTV, right? You go to use the KTV to sing, so aren't you just wantonly playing nonsense here? Besides, where should we find a zither now? Yuan Chuling snapped as he cried out. Tang Xiu said with a forced smile, Well, since there's no zither, I'll just hum a few words casually then. This first song. Wait. Xia Wanfan suddenly interrupted him and said, If my memory serves me right, the proprietress of this KTV has a zither. My family and I had come to sing in this KTV once, and I saw her sitting in the hall outside, playing zither. The tone was very beautiful and elegant. Huh? You know the boss of this place? Yuan Chuling was surprised. No. I don't know her, but my aunt does. And they are also good friends. So, should I try and ask her? Xia Wanfan answered with a smile. Chang Yannan said, I'll go with you. Okay. Whilst looking at the two girls leaving, an expression of being at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh was drawn on Tang Xiu's face. He had never thought that these two girls were even this earnest, giving not even a chance for him to sing casually. They even felt that it was imperative to run and try finding a zither. Inside the Westland KTV's general manager office, Chen Xiaofan quietly read a zither chord book in her hand. Although she managed her KTV family business, learning about musical instruments in her spare time was her hobby. She also liked to collect various musical instruments, albeit that she preferred to use those various musical instruments to create a symphony that could move people's heart. Knock, knock, knock. Her door was knocked and abruptly stopped her train of thoughts. Chen Xiaofan's black eyebrows slightly tilted as she spoke with quite a resent, Come in. A waiter came opening the door as she looked at her and said, Boss, there are two guests who are looking for you. They said they know you. Where are they? Chen Xiaofan asked. Outside the door, replied the waiter. Let them come inside, Chen Xiaofan said. After a moment, Xia Wanfan and Chang Yannan entered the office. When they saw Chen Xiaofan, Xia Wanfan stepped forward a few steps as she stood in front of her and said, Hello Aunt Chen. I'm Xia Wanfan, Xia Shishir's niece. I once visited you with my aunt and parents before. A smile was revealed on Chen Xiaofan's face as she said with a nod, I remember you. But that was like a few years ago, right? That time I told your aunt to take you over to play here. Anyways, you need something from me? Xia Wanfan said. Yes. We have a classmate, but since he can't sing contemporary songs, he wants to sing a very special song, but he said that he needs a zither. And I recalled that you should have one here, so I came to find you. A zither? And sing with it? Chen Xiaofan was at a loss and dumbfounded before she replied, I suppose your classmate is very interesting, right? But, why would he come to a KTV and then play zither for? An awkward expression was revealed on Xia Wanfan's face. She too felt that Tang Xiu's request was kinda ridiculous, so she replied while blushing, Aunt Chan, about my classmate. He's kinda
Ugh.
weird. Chen Xiaofan said, okay, it's all right. It's a visitor's request after all, so I'll naturally try to meet the request as best as I can. However, I also have a request, and if you can comply with it, I will lend my favorite zither to you. Please do tell. Xia Wanfan promptly nodded. Chen Xiaofan said with a smile, I want to see your classmate, and also want to listen to his zither play. This? Xia Wanfan and Chen Yannan looked at each other as hesitation was revealed on their expressions. They didn't know what Tang Xiu would think about it. If they complied with the request and Tang Xiu wasn't happy because of it, what should they do then? However, Chang Yannan, who wanted to hear Tang Xiu sing, was quite resolute as she too was interested in hearing him singing with a zither in a KTV. So, she said, okay, we agree, Aunt Chen. Chen Xiaofan's eyes suddenly turned bright and said, then, how about I arrange the largest box for you and listen to the song there? Some of my friends happen to be visiting soon. I might as well tell you that they're the big shots from the music academy in the provincial capital. If your talent in music and songs are good, they might invite you to enter the music academy after you have your college entrance test. Xia Wanfan's eyes turned bright, as even Chen Yannan's face also moved. The two whispered to each other and finally agreed to Chen Xiaofan's proposal. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu, Yuan Chuling, and Li Xiaoqian were brought to the VIP box. Upon seeing that Xia Wanfan and Chen Yannan were already inside, Yuan Chuling then immediately asked out of curiosity, hey, what's up? Was our previous box not good enough so you want to change the place? Whilst glancing at Tang Xiu, Chen Yannan replied with a smile, you know what? We got quite lucky. I and Xia Wanfan have been wanting to take the test for the music academy in the provincial capital. So, when we were trying to borrow the zither, we exactly came across some leaders from the said music academy. They're the friends of this KTV's proprietress. And she's really kind, she wants to help us and move us to this box for our singing. As well as showcase those big shots are singing. For real. A delicate and pretty Li Xiaoqian suddenly called out excitedly, I also love to sing and want to take the test for the music academy. Yannan, you might not know, but I've been dreaming to become a singer ever since I was a child. This is really great. If the leaders from the music academy take a liking to us, they could make an exception for us to enroll in their school. Tang Xiu knitted his brows even though he stretched it back the moment after. Although he had never liked being with unfamiliar people while he was having his relaxation time, seeing the excited looks from Li Xiaoqian and the other girls, he also didn't want to sweep out their excitement. Perhaps, today would be a chance for them to make their dreams come true to enter this music academy. His vision finally moved to the tea table. An interesting and appealing antique zither was on the tea table with a vivid and lifelike carving of the soaring phoenix and dragon pattern on it. At the front door of the Westland KTV. With a smiling expression, Chen Xiaofan was looking at a black Mercedes-Benz that slowly stopped as three mature and beautiful women came out from the inside. Boss Chan, sorry for disturbing you. One of the mature beauties smiled and rushed forward as she gave Chen Xiaofan a big hug. Chen Xiaofan said with a laugh, it's too late not to be happy since the three of you have come visiting me. So how could it be called as disturbing me? Besides, it has been more than half a year for we, sisters, gathering together, right? The three of you really have no conscience. While you are enjoying your life in the provincial capital, you toss me here alone in Star City. Huang Jia, who was precisely the mature beauty who threw herself at Chen Xiaofan, hugged Chen Xiaofan's shoulders as she said with a beaming smile, if your family and your hubby are willing to let you leave, we can arrange everything in the provincial capital for you. Including working with us in the music academy along with a proper and suitable position. With a helpless expression and tone, Chen Xiaofan said, please don't tempt me. You know my family and my hubby.
Ah.
Just forget it. Don't raise the topic about him. Anyways, I've prepared a show for you tonight. And, it's a quite unexpected and accidental one though. But I hope you'll like it. What show? Huang Jia asked curiously. Chen Xiaofan let out a smile that was not like a smile as she replied, "You're all musicians. So I want to ask you. Have you seen any guests that come to a KTV and not sing? But want to borrow and play a zither and sing with it? And you know what? The said person should be a high schooler." Huang Jia and the two others couldn't help laughing and smiling. Going to the KTV only to play zither and sing with it? Wasn't this a big scene that must be investigated in entire China to find? Huang Jia said with a laugh, "Xiaofan, is this the wonderful marvel you said to be a special program you've arranged for us? That reminds me, we haven't had some fun for a while, have we? It's been very difficult for us sisters to gather together, so we had better have some fun ourselves when we're together." Chen Xiaofan also replied with a laugh. Jia dear, don't you think that this is kinda novel too? Just imagine the scene of playing zither in a KTV and singing a song with it. I couldn't help but laugh imagining it. Right. I seem to have done it once too. That was when I just bought the zither. The three mature beauties laughed upon hearing it. For a moment, Huang Jia hesitated as she then said with a smile, "Since Xiaofan has specifically arranged this special program for us, then let's see it. Besides, speaking about it, there's only a handful of students who are interested in learning the zither nowadays. I have no idea if her level would be quite good, but I think Xiaofan also can give some pointers to her." Chen Xiaofan said with a laugh, "But anyways, I heard that the student who will be playing and singing with the zither is not a she, but a he. He's a schoolboy." What? The three mature beauties were immediately shocked. A male student, playing the zither in the KTV? And even singing with it? A male student who didn't like playing guitar and acting cool? Huang Jia said with a laugh, "Xiaofan, such specific details you're telling us, kinda sparks my curiosity, and that boy really piqued my interest." Chapter 159, Ideal Mood Realm. Inside a luxurious box of the Westland KTV. Tang Xiu sat cross-legged in front of a zither. His hands gently caressed and stroked the zither made of the best quality yellow rosewood material. The zither's body was shining with a delicate ornate carving and meticulous workmanship. It also had its 7 strings already deployed properly. The zither was highly regarded in Chinese culture and considered as the noblest instrument. There was even a saying that, wherever the gentleman is seated, there must be a zither to the left and books to the right, one. It was also included as the first in the 4 arts of Chinese culture, which were the zither, go, calligraphy and painting, as most of the refined scholars also regarded it as the most elegant representative of all. Previously, Tang Xiu also had a zither. It was one of the top-notch immortal devices in the immortal world. Its wooden body was made of phoenix tree with strings made of the tendons of the 5-clawed golden dragon. After which, it was nourished with the blood essence of certain supremes in the immortal world for nearly 10,000 years, and was also tempered within the 9 dark ice pool and earthly fire source for a few hundreds of years. Even if it were ordinary immortals, they would be able to kill high-level celestial beings if they could get their hands on the zither. "Tang Xiu, can you really play the zither?" Chang Yannan came over in front of the zither as she asked with a curious expression on her beautiful face. Tang Xiu came back from the recollection of his memories and said softly, "I did learn some before." A trace of doubt and contempt was revealed on Chang Yannan's eyes as she said with a smile, "It's all right. Even if you can't play and sing well with the instrument, we won't laugh at you." Yuan Chuling also followed the noise and said, "Yep, we won't mock you, eldest brother. Absolutely. Besides, you'll still be regarded as a multi-talented person even if your play isn't good enough." It's just kinda a pity that you don't play guitar, though. Else, you could have been able to charm those eye-catching and elegant pretty chicks. Pfft. Chang Yannan, Xiao Wanfen, and Li Xiaoqian were amused and burst into laughter by Yuan Chuling's comments. Then, the door to the box was pushed open from the outside. Well, all of you look very happy. Any happy things you're talking about? Chen Xiaofan smiled and looked at the 5 people inside the room. There was also a bit of scrutiny in her eyes as her sight finally fell on Tang Xiu, who sat cross-legged. Xia Wanfen approached to greet as she said with a smile, "Aunt Chen, we were talking about Tang Xiu's skill with the zither. But well, he's acting modestly even to us." "Is that Tang Xiu whom you told me about?" "Well, he's quite young. Nowadays, the people who can play the zither are getting fewer, it's much scarcer for boys. Come here, I'll introduce you to some people. These 3 are my good sisters. They're teachers from the Regal Classical Music Academy in the provincial capital." Chen Xiaofan said with a faint smile. "How do you do, teachers?" The 3 girls along with Yuan Chuling greeted them. Tang Xiu didn't get up. He just nodded slightly toward Chen Xiaofan while his eyes only swept over Huang Jia and the other 2 women. Tonight, he was just out to have some leisure and entertainment. He was quite reluctant to join in the fun with strangers. However, Chen Xiaofan was the proprietress of this KTV, and it would be rude if he refused. "I should leave as fast as possible," Tang Xiu thought. Upon seeing Tang Xiu's attitude, Huang Jia and the 2 others slightly knitted their brows. They were accustomed to having students treating them with respectful manners. And they felt Tang Xiu wasn't pleasant to the eyes after seeing such indifferent manner from him. However, Tang Xiu was but only a passerby in their eyes, while they were only here just to join in on the fun. The 3 then sat on the other side of the sofa. Huang Jia glanced at Tang Xiu before she called out to Chen Xiaofan, "Haven't you said that some people will play an instrument and sing in your KTV? How haven't you started now? We sisters are musicians ourselves, so we can give some pointers to these students." Upon hearing the words of her sisters with some flavor of mockery and teasing in it, Chen Xiaofan was secretly amused inside. She also felt that Tang Xiu's indifferent attitude was quite inappropriate. At the moment, she too could feel the dissatisfaction from her sisters as they prepared to give some lessons to Tang Xiu, which was probably to bring him down a notch. In other departments, perhaps these sisters of hers couldn't teach Tang Xiu. But in the music department, they were absolutely the ones with the authority to do that at the moment. Chang Yannan, Yuan Chuling and the other 2 also understood the meaning behind Huang Jia's words as they turned around to look at Tang Xiu. However, Tang Xiu still wore his indifferent expression. But in the end, he didn't look at Huang Jia and the other 2 women, even once. Along with the quiet atmosphere inside the box, he looked down to face the zither in front of him. Ding! A clear zither sound came out as his slender fingers fiddled with its string. In the next moment, the flashing radiance in his eyes disappeared as he closed them. With his right hand on the strings and his left one forming the chord, the tips of his fingers moved in an unusual fingering style. His right hand moved on the strings, picking, releasing, scraping, beating, plucking, rubbing, locking, while his left hand moved up and down, advancing and returning back, moving back and repeating, reciting and scratching, fomenting and bending his finger, pulling, strapping, clawing, knocking, drawing, hooking, as his fingers continued fiddling with the strings. Within the haziness of the mood, all of Tang Xiu's fingers stroked the zither, giving off the charming rhyme as though running water. From the zither, desolate and dreary symphony came out, leaving the flavor of trembling autumn wind behind. The rhythm was slow, and yet, it gave off the feeling of melancholic and desolateness. A few seconds after the zither's sound came out, Wang Jia, who was feeling quite the antipathy toward Tang Xiu, was shocked. The proprietress of the KTV, Chen Xiaofan's body turned stiff, as though being struck with electricity, while the eyes of the other two teachers of the Regal Classics Music Academy were contracted. Their eyes were locked on Tang Xiu and didn't move, even a bit. It was a soul-touching symphony. The four of them had high attainments in the musical department and were specialists in the field. The mellow melody of the zither stirred up their hearts with the feeling of anxiousness, as it pulled them into the world filled with melancholic autumn wind and fallen leaves everywhere. The feeling of yearning, of homesickness, and the longing to see his own parents. They were as though seeing themselves drifting, floating along with the current and traveling far away from home, as they were standing at the end of a narrow winding path in the late autumn, looking into the distance from a higher ground toward the direction of their hometown. They were as if good, well-behaved children who looked at a certain place with their hearts filled with filial piety. And yet, the desolate world forced them to turn direction, while they were worrying about their warm, caring mothers in their hometown. The autumn rain is falling with the missing of the beloved one, worrying about the sun in the remembrance. A deep and low hoarse voice, along with the symphony of the zither, lingered around. There was no towering and abrupt feeling within, as everything harmoniously blended into one, creating a kind of sorrowful atmosphere as though the air was gradually filled with a floating, greenish-black mist. The journey to immortality is never-ending, with an undecided will and faltering. The scene changed as if they were now seeing a vast path that led to an extremely high mountain summit. A young man with an immortal sword stood there, struggling to advance forward, and yet stopped advancing for each step forward as he turned his head, looking at a certain distance from the high place. To the sky, I looked up and asked, to the earth, I looked down and talked, as 10,000s of years unhindered I walked. The underworld of Hades I trampled on, the highest of the heavens I stamped on, for the path to the gate of heaven, I bitterly sought to knock on. The regrets inside the soul linger, longing for the wish so difficult to appear, for returning back to those moments I deeply desire. For a moment, Huang Jia, Chen Xiaofan, and the other women's hearts trembled. It was as if they were inside a dreamland, within the embodiment of the yellow springs of the underworld, with the supreme immortals of the ninth heaven above them. Painfully, they were seeking the path to heaven's door, only wanting to find a beacon light and be able to find the path that led home. The sadness and the sorrows, the sufferings and the longings. Hundreds ups and downs turned into thousands of anxiety and worries as the feelings lingered inside their souls. Along down their cheeks, 2 lines of tears flowed down and wetted their front clothes. Yuan Chuling was shaken, while Cheng Yannan, Xiao Wanfan and Li Xiaoqian were as though struck with goosebumps. As though being hypnotized and dazed, they listened to the zither music that was gradually getting faster from slow, and from the slow play to the stormy one. They listened to Tang Xiu's singing from the beginning of the deep and hoarse voice to the venting-like screaming roar. Sitting in front of the zither, Tang Xiu's fingers that fiddled with the strings were getting faster and faster. It was as though he returned back to the time when he was playing the zither in the immortal world. His feelings and emotions were blended into it. The emotions of the arduous and difficult immortal path and the longing feeling to be with the parents were the most vivid emotions that blended into his zither play. Gradually, the sound of the zither subsided along with the passing time. Tang Xiu slowly raised his head and slowly opened his eyes, as a trace of warm, sparkling and translucent tears dripped down from the corner of his eyes. His blurred sight gradually became clear. As he saw the people inside the box with each and every one of them had tears streaming down their faces, his heart was filled with happiness. Yes, he felt happy inside. He was once a supreme in the immortal world. However, if he were to be given choices, he'd rather choose to give up such an aloof and remote standing, as well as abandon his heaven-shaking strength. He'd rather turn back into an ordinary person and return to his mother's side, helping and accompanying her, serving her before she went to bed when she grew older, taking care of her in her aged time, and arranging a proper burial after she died. After a long while, Chen Xiaofan finally sobered up from the world made of the zither music. With her blurred vision, she watched Tang Xiu, who was not only with tears but also slightly smiling. Her heart suddenly throbbed. The zither music touched her, as each and every tone within held her heart captivated. Never had she thought that such a wonderful zither play would exist in the world. It was as though filled with mesmerizing charm, and she couldn't help but immerse herself within. She looked at him, but nothing came up as how to express her feeling. Of countless words she could say, eventually manifested into only 2 words, thank you. After Huang Jia came out of the after effect of the music, she looked at Chen Xiaofan, who was looking at her with a somewhat angry expression. She turned around toward Tang Xiu, albeit reluctantly, as a deep sense of shame made her almost find a hole to hide. A moment ago, she was boasting that she would give some pointers to Tang Xiu. However, within just a blink of an eye, Tang Xiu's zither play subdued her. She was a professional musician as well as a specialist in the field. A music academy's teacher who should have acted by example. And as a teacher, she actually judged a zither grandmaster with contempt. Such a narrow-minded thought was something she deeply regretted. I'm really sorry. Huang Jia walked forward for a few steps as she faced Tang Xiu and apologized with a deep bow. At this moment, the other people inside the box also sobered up as though they were just woken up from a dream. They looked at Tang Xiu with a shocked expression as if they were coming across something inconceivable. Eldest brother, Yuan Chuling's lips wiggled a few times. His voice stopped in his throat, as even he didn't realize that his attitude toward Tang Xiu became more respectful. It was a kind of respectful gesture and expression from the manifestation of worship that came from the heart. The tears from Cheng Yannan, Xiao Wanfan, and Li Xiaqian's faces had already disappeared. But it was as though their tears had washed their eyes as it turned particularly bright at the moment. Previously, they were also full of contempt, doubting Tang Xiu's skill in playing the zither because they had never listened to his zither play before. At this time, they looked at Tang Xiu as if they were looking at an emperor or a superstar. This song must belong to heaven. Where would one be able to hear it in the human world? One of the teachers of the Regal Classical Music Academy looked at Tang Xiu with a complex expression as she said with a deep sigh. Tang Xiu stood up slowly and said with a tranquil expression, "It's quite late, I should go back home now." No. Chen Xiaofan and Huang Jia called out at the same time. After they said it, the 2 women realized that they were losing their manners and quickly wiped the tears from their eyes. Huang Jia stood in front of Tang Xiu as she carefully looked at him and said with a sincere expression, "Your name is Tang Xiu, a student from Star City First High School, correct? Are you going to attend the college entrance test soon?" Yes. Tang Xiu nodded. Huang Jia hastily responded, "You don't need to take the college entrance test. Just directly come to our Regal Classical Music Academy. My husband is a vice president there and he has a special quota privilege to invite some students. You don't need to take any tests, just come to our Regal Classical Music Academy and you can directly study there. I can vouch and guarantee for you, and it absolutely won't be a problem." Chapter 160, Declining the Offer. The other female teacher interrupted Huang Jia as she said with a serious expression, "Huang Jia, you spoke incorrectly. He can never become our music academy's student." For a moment, Huang Jia stared blankly as she immediately blurted out, "What do you mean? He's fully qualified to become a student of our Regal Classical Music Academy. Just think, if he becomes a student in our music academy, you tell me who has the qualifications to teach him? I think he can directly become a teacher in the Regal Classical Music Academy. As long as he stays for a few years, to be nominated for the professorship is completely no problem for him." The female teacher replied with a sank tone. Becoming a teacher? A professor? Huang Jia patted her head and quickly said, "Yes, yes. His level is indeed not suitable for students. If so, Tang Xiu, are you willing to come to our music academy? I guarantee that I can make you become a zither teacher smoothly. If your performance is good, you could become a music professor a few years later without any problems. Yuan Chuling, Chang Yannan and the other two were dumbfounded and tongue-tied. They looked at the two female teachers who wore serious expressions, as well as looked at Tang Xiu with his tranquil expression. It shocked them greatly, and the shock was too extreme. What was the so-called reaching the heavens in a single bound? This was what it meant. With only the symphony of a zither music, several teachers of the nationwide renowned Regal Classical Music Academy were conquered. He didn't even need to take the college entrance test and directly jump to become a teacher there. Even more so, by listening to their words, Tang Xiu definitely would have a bright future, as he would become the youngest music professor in the country. It's just so godly and awesome. In this world, could there be any person more amazing than Tang Xiu? Tang Xiu looked at the several female teachers who had an anticipating expression on their faces. He slowly shook his head and said, "I'm really sorry. I'm not interested." What? The female teachers exclaimed out loud involuntarily, even a look of disbelief was cast on Chen Xiaofan's face. He refused? He easily gave up such a huge opportunity and immeasurable future? Chen Xiaofan was afraid that Tang Xiu was clueless as to what it meant to become a teacher of the Regal Classical Music Academy, and quickly said, "Tang Xiu, each and every teacher of the Regal Classical Music Academy has high social status. They also have prominent reputations in the music industry. But becoming a professor of this music academy, you will be regarded as a maestro of music nationwide. Be it treatment, wealth, or social status, everything is what countless of musicians have been longing for in their dreams. Wealth and status, I will fight and strive for them in the future. But music, it will never be the path I take. I do love music, however, it is but only a mere interest. Therefore, either it's becoming a teacher or professor, I have not the slightest interest to become one." Tang Xiu replied with an indifferent expression. Chen Xiaofan's mouth was opened wide, but no words came out as she didn't know what to say. Even the three female teachers of the Regal Classical Music Academy were also struck dumb. Nothing in their minds came up as how to persuade him. Yuan Chuling and Cheng Yannan were one of the well-off as well as not originated from ordinary families. They also knew that Tang Xiu had set up his own company. But aside from them, Xiao Wanfan and Li Xiaoqian didn't know about his circumstances. In particular, was Li Xiaoqian who dreamed in becoming a star as she quickly said, "Tang Xiu, if you can enter the Regal Classical Music Academy, it means that you're half a step into the entertainment world. Are you not interested in becoming a star?" Tang Xiu shook his head and replied, "I don't have any interest to become one." Li Xiaoqian said with an inconceivable look, "How so? What's not good about a star? Your musical skill is so high. And you're highly likely able to become a superstar, an emperor-like figure in the music industry. Just comply with the three teachers' suggestion, I believe that they can get it done with everything they promised you." Tang Xiu still shook his head and said with a dull expression, "I've said that I'm not interested. Well, the night is late, I still have things to do for tomorrow, and I need to rest early." After having said that, he took the lead and walked toward the private box's door. "Hey, eldest brother, wait for me." Yuan Chuling chased him and went out in big strides. After Tang Xiu left the Westland KTV, he saw that Cheng Yannan and the other two girls didn't come out. Then, he said to Yuan Chuling, "If there's nothing else, it's better for you to go back first since I'll go to the restaurant and then home." Yuan Chuling hesitated for a moment. But he didn't rush to leave and asked, "Eldest brother, in the college entrance test, to which university are you going to register?" Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "Haven't thought about a suitable one. We'll have to wait and see after the college entrance test. Actually, I think you won't have any problems to enter any domestic universities with your results." I was thinking to enter the same university you're gonna pick if your choice isn't one of the top universities in China. But if you're planning to enter one of those top universities, I'm afraid that it would be very difficult for me to pass the college entrance test. Yuan Chuling said with a nod. Tang Xiu said with a smile, attending school anywhere is basically the same. Mainly, it would depend on how many things you can learn. Besides, you might be able to follow me for a while, but you can't follow me for your entire life. As for whichever university you're going to enter to pave the sort of path you're going to tread on, you need to decide it for yourself. On the other hand, your family has quite a big business, so I think that you should ask your father's advice too. Yuan Chuling said with a forced smile, I did discuss this with him when I went home a few days ago. He wishes that I could study in Beijing and take economics. Tang Xiu was quite astonished and said, and you don't like the idea? Yuan Chuling shook his head and said, it's not that I'm against it. It's just that I don't want to leave Star City. I always feel that my parents are hiding something important from me. So I couldn't help but feel that there's a profound meaning in his advice in making me study in the capital. Tang Xiu was silent for a moment before he slowly asked, your parents still haven't told you the reason for the divorce? Yuan Chuling shook his head and said, nope. Even a bit. I think they have some difficulties to bring up this issue, but still, they don't want to tell me the reason for now. Studying in the university will take 4 years, and I'm afraid that something would happen in this time period. Each and every family does have to go through their own problems. Inside, Tang Xiu secretly sighed. He patted Yuan Chuling's shoulder and said with a smile, your dad can survive so many years in the business world, that means he has the capability. So I believe he can solve any problems he comes across. Besides, you and I are good friends. He can contact me whenever he comes across some difficult problems later. Contacting you? Yuan Chuling stared blankly. What? You don't think I can help your dad? Tang Xiu said with a laugh. Eldest brother, I know that you've established your own company. But the thing is, the problems my dad has to face aren't something you can solve for the time being. But anyways, having an eldest brother like you saying these words, I'm really grateful and moved. Yuan Chuling said with a forced smile. Tang Xiu shrugged his shoulders and said, well, you can interpret my words any way you like. Okay, I gotta leave now. See you later. The river street of the old town. Tang Xiu took a taxi and went to his family's restaurant. After he arrived there, he was quite amazed upon seeing the surging number of people at the entrance. The number of guests who came in and out of the restaurant was unusually high. It was originally but a small cafeteria. And after having undergone expansions twice, the shop front at both sides of the restaurant had been successfully rented. Even the second floor also had been opened up. The small 2-storied building might have no distinct and unique style, but after having gone through renovations for 2 times, it seemed that the site now gave off a kind of interesting and appealing antique charm. There was even something that made Tang Xiu feel somewhat amused. That was the 2 security guards at both sides of the entrance. They were unexpectedly wearing a full suit of a black tuxedo. He also remembered these 2 guys. They were the ones who caused troubles for the restaurant before with their thuggish appearance and behavior. But now, they actually had a facelift and appearance changes as they looked decent and honest. Boss. Upon seeing Tang Xiu, the eyes of the 2 young men who acted as security guards suddenly brightened up as they greeted him with flattery. After the incident with Tai Long who caused troubles back then, their faith in Tang Xiu became much deeper and they were more hell-bent on following him. After all, Tang Xiu was even able to pack up the kind of powerful people such as Tai Long. In this Star City, what kind of things was Tang Xiu unable to deal with? Well, is everything good with the restaurant? Whilst walking toward the inside, Tang Xiu asked them. The young man nodded and replied with a smile, everything is great. The business is even hotter when we reopened the restaurant. Whether it's in the noon or evening, we're always full of guests. I even heard from Brother Bansho that people have to book in advance if they want to have seats here. And they have to book at least a day earlier. Tang Xiu replied with an astonished expression, "It's that good?" The young man said, "Certainly. The prices in our restaurant are reasonable and inexpensive. The delicacies and foods we have are also delicious." So the guests really loved it. In particular, we also have quite a lot of regulars now. Tang Xiu said with a laugh, "I got you." After having entered the restaurant entrance, as Tang Xiu was looking at the busy staffers, he found that there were a lot of new attendants he hadn't seen before. Obviously, they were the new recruits. He also saw dozens of men and women with impatient looks in front of the counter that were apparently waiting for vacant tables.
Ah.
You came. I'll get the boss. Upon seeing him, the attendants who knew who Tang Xiu was immediately called out in a pleasant surprise. "It's all right." Tang Xiu walked over with a smiling face. "Hey, what does it mean? Don't you know that the ones who come first should get the first service? We've been waiting for almost 10 minutes here. Even if you call your boss out, you still must serve us first." An ugly and fierce-looking middle-aged man shouted as he stared with his big eyes. The waiter couldn't help laughing. Tang Xiu turned and looked at more than a dozen of visitors who cast a sidelong glance at him and said with a smile, "Please be relieved. I won't fight over the tables with all of you." The middle-aged man snorted coldly and said, "Humph, you said you won't fight over the tables with us. But you're rushing inside? Don't think that I know nothing how restaurants work. They're always currying favor with people who have some statuses. No matter, in any case, I don't give a damn about it. As long as there are any vacant tables, I want them to be given to us first." Another middle-aged woman also followed, "Yes. We can be considered as regulars of this restaurant. This is even our third visit this month. So you must give us the seat first." The staffer looked at Tang Xiu, who wore a forced smile as he smiled and explained, "Ladies and gentlemen, you misunderstood something here. He's our young master, our boss's son." "What?" The ugly and fierce-looking middle-aged man was paused and stared blankly. An awkward expression was immediately drawn on his face when he spoke, "That. Little brother, I didn't know that you're the boss's son. I apologize. It's just that, we're impatient. We've been here for almost 10 minutes, watching people eat, drink and chat while laughing." Tang Xiu said with a smile, "It's all right." Then, he turned around and walked inside. "Please wait." A voice resounded from behind him. Tang Xiu turned his head and looked at a fat middle-aged man who came out of the crowd. Then, he asked with a puzzled expression, "Is there something you need?" The fat middle-aged man blinked as he said with a smile, "Idol, it turns out to be you. I felt that you are somewhat pretty familiar. Hey, do you remember me? You took my taxi, gave me the directions for the road, and we—" Tang Xiu's mind revolved and suddenly remembered this fat middle-aged man's identity. Then he immediately interrupted him and said with a smile, "It's originally you."
Ah.
I haven't said my thanks to you before.